In this video, I'm going to show you how to take a topography that's a little bit rugged and full of kinks and take it into something that looks like that. So we're not going to lose a lot of accuracy, but we're going to smooth out the topography. And so I'll just show you the process of bringing a GeoTIFF file in and converting it to something like this. Now to start, I'm going to just clean up my project and I'm going to open up a file. Currently my coordinate system is in UTM LO35, but let's say it's not like that. Usually a standard program ships with a central meridian on LO29 or whatever. A GeoTIFF normally is in the format as created by whatever software. In this case, I've got a file that is currently, let me just go to the file. Okay, so in this client folder, I've got a file. It's a GeoTIFF file, and it's got a PRJ file, which I will just open in my text editor. And here you will see the current projection details for the TIFF file as it is at the moment. What's important here is to see that it is in WG34 and we are using zone 35 south. So that have to be set up in Model Maker before you even start. Yeah, the other parameters are just used to translate the data properly into the correct position, but Model Maker will take care of that. Usually a GeoTIFF also contains these data values in the actual TIFF file. So the tool we use to import it into Model Maker is going to be this one. It's going to be a extract elevation data from DEMS, and we will then open up the file. And you will see that we will load all the points in a DEM, but we can actually create a little bit of a filter. So TIFF files can be quite big. So in my case, I'm just going to say bring in every 10th point just to filter the data a little bit. The end result is going to be good enough, but if you want to make sure that you catch every nook and cranny, read every point. I'm going to do this to speed up my process a bit. Right, now the data is loaded, and in this case you will see the preview that I saw earlier. If I just go back to that, you'll see a preview on the TIFF file. It actually is orientated differently. That tells me that the northing and the easting value is swapped around in Model Maker. Alright, so I did mention this to the developers, so they will probably fix it up soon. But until then, we will just quickly fix this. Also, currently my coordinate system is set to LO29, so I forgot to change it back to UTM. So let's just do that before we go further. All right, and there's no change in the values. So we just go to Data, General, Constants and Code Changes, and just say swap Y and X. That will just swap the Y and X columns. And then just say normal again, and now we've got our data in the right orientation. And a quick way to check this is to just send it out to Google. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just triangulate my values, going to triangle C search. This will actually generate my contours also. So if I switch the DTM off, there we're seeing the contours that are generated on the triangulation. And what I like to do is to take that outside figure and make a string of it, but if you don't have strings, you can also use CAD, Gen, and you can just say drag the triangle side into a CAD line. I just use strings for this normally, but might as well use the CAD one while we're at it. And so what you see now is not the triangle sides, but a CAD line. So that's just a normal CAD line, and I will output it to Google Earth just to check that it's in the right place. And there is Google Earth, and you can see the line plots in the correct position in Google Earth. So we know we are in the correct coordinate system and everything is good to go. Next step is to do our smoothing. Now for this part you unfortunately need strings for what I'm about to do. So With these contours, we can decide how much detail we want to incorporate. While I'm doing this, I'm just going to get rid of that CAD line and just work with strings again. So in strings, it would have looked like this. If I say add new and I say triangle side, that's just a shortcut to achieve the same thing. So this is now a string that I copied out. And the difference between a string and a CAD line is a string is just much more intelligent. And for what I need, this is the tool I'm going to go for. So for the detail you want to smooth, currently my contour interval is set to 1 meter, and you can make that any interval that you want. Obviously, the smaller the interval, the more detail, the longer the whole process will take. So I'm going to go just back to my 1 meter interval. I'm happy with that. And then I'm going to basically make all of these contours string lines, because there's a nice tool in strings that allows me to do my smoothing. So I'll say string. And in fact, the tool I want is actually a little bit hidden. It's not in strings at all. So we'll go to CAD. So in strings, I can do a single contour, but I can't do all of them at the same time. So I have to go to CAD and go to Gen and go to contours here and just say all those at and make sure it's strings and make sure that the active surface is project 1, which is where my current survey and contours are. So we'll just say proceed with copy. So what you'll see is a whole lot of little strings. If I switch the contours off, I'll switch the strings on and off, and you'll see they are not contours, they are actually strings. Alright, so what's left is now to do the smoothing. Now, all these little names you see, these are just the names on the strings, and you'll see that there are little strings in the middle somewhere, so there will be little outcrops or low points. That's what we expect to see in a model like this. It's just how the triangulation is. So there's little high points and low points, and that's what we want to get rid of. We want to smooth that out. So for us to do that, let me just zoom out again. I'm going to now literally go to my strings tool and say ID and do ID. And I'm just going to ID all the strings of a certain length. So I'm choosing, let's make it 50 meters. Anything longer than 50 meters will be ID'd, or shorter, sorry. Anything longer will be ignored, actually. And you'll see all over, you'll have these little strings. Let's just switch the ID status of the strings off. So whatever is left ID'd, those are the little mounds, high points, low points that I don't want. So I'm going to get rid of them by just saying man ID delete. Okay, so that gets rid of that. Don't put your contours on at this stage, just work with the string view. Alright, so now we're going to just smooth out all these strings. So I'll say ID. In my strings, I'll say ID, and I think I just deleted my outside figure string, which is okay. I can get it back later. I'm just going to say ID all the strings, and then I'm going to go to man ID, and I'm going to say trim nodes. So what this does is, if you look at your strings, you'll see that they will have all of these nodes everywhere, and we just want to get rid of those that are too close to each other. So by doing that, we are thinning out our strings actually. So this is just a quick way to do this. I'm going to just go to man ID and I'm going to say trim all the nodes and give it sort of a search radius. The height doesn't really matter because all the heights on the strings are the same because they're contours. So that doesn't really matter what I put in there. But I can sort of decide if I want to do a 10 meter or 5 meter or so maybe scale it into how smooth do you want your contours. So you can't overdo it. So so start small and see what the smoothing does. So if I say okay now, and you can immediately see there's a bit of a change. And if you do overlap your contours, you will see that stuff has changed a little bit already. So the ID string's sort of in the background there, and that's what you want. And then I'll run it again and say man ID, trim nodes. Maybe we must try 10 meters and see what that does. Okay, so you can see there's some definite changes happening, but the overall consistency of the position of the strings are still very good. And And you can repeat this. I like it at this stage because I'll rather manually go in and smooth some of these kinks that by hand. Maybe I should just show that. So I'll just go into string edit and say no delete and say I want to smooth out. And this is literally your experience of contours, what you want to do and how smooth you want in which direction. So you sort of just clip off those sharp edges manually, and this is literally a process of just going through it. Okay, or you can say let's be a little bit more aggressive with the trim nodes option and maybe make it 15 meters and see what that does. Okay, so it smooths it out quite a lot and a lot less editing necessary, and I'm actually at a good result right now. So I might feel that I want to do some manual editing in there. Just bear in mind that every node you take off of your string means you are affecting your cut and fill, your final volumes. And yeah, so you can literally go and keep editing that as much as you like. But there we have it. Now I've smoothed my contours and I can then easily convert this to a new surface. And I do that by just going to ID, man ID, and I'll say copy DTM points and I'll put them into project number 2 for that matter. And we will then triangulate that. And we can then switch off project 1, switch off the strings, switch on the contours of project number 2, and you will see they overlap with the strings quite nicely. Okay, so now we've got contours that have been smoothed out quite a bit, and I can use that for whatever purpose.